Yeah, so welcome to everybody also now joining during the recording. Thanks for making it to my masterclass on learning business skills with AI. This is really one of my core passions, and especially now that like learning has always been my passion, and now with AI, it's a whole new level. So in this masterclass, we're really going to be looking at how do we combine our human intelligence and our artificial intelligence to just boost consciousness and creativity and not be swallowed by unconscious AI stuff. So, for about the next 60 minutes, I invite you to be fully present here and to turn off all of your distractions. So, whatever you're doing right now, maybe take a minute to close off your tabs and fully arrive in this container. Have your materials ready because I'm going to be talking for the next 10 or 15 minutes and you can really take my insights and draw them for yourself because as you see, I'm quite a visual person and that's really how I started by like listening to presentations and drawing on the side. So yeah, welcome. Let's get started. And you might wonder like why are you actually here? Like what is this about? So I just want to quickly talk about the audience that I'm speaking to. So maybe this is you, and you are in the right place if you are a purpose-driven creator who loves learning business skills with AI. So if any of these words kind of speak to you, then you're in the right place. But let's break it down shortly. So purpose-driven is really important for me. Many people I work with and myself are really, purpose driven and think about the state of the world, everything we do is towards systemic solutions because there is a whole mess we're living in. And I think it's our role and responsibility to step up in these moments as creators. So someone who's dealing actively with these challenges. And that like it doesn't matter if you're a coach, if you're employed, if you're just like looking for the thing you want to do. But I just call these people creators because they think about what's happening and they want to find solutions. And maybe you're also a passionate learner. You love learning like me. If yes, you're definitely in the right place because I'm going to talk about learning a lot. And you might be self-employed, you might be running a business, and business skills is important to you. And maybe also like getting a more fun and juicy and creative way of learning business skills. And I'm going to show you how we can do that with AI. So finding creative ways to just make this whole game more enjoyable so learning business is enjoyable as, playing the guitar or dancing or whatever creative things you do, love learning in your life. So that's why you are here and that's why we are here. And what you will get in this masterclass is first, we're going to be having this presentation where I'm going to talk about learning business skills with AI, really bringing together these topics like how to deconstruct challenges into skills. That's going to be a whole mindset that I've developed that I want to show you, and then how to master learning with AI. So these are the main subjects. And then after that, we're going to be prompting together. So I have a prompt for you, and you can create your own AI learning assistant, is how I call it. So there will be an active way, because I think learning is not just passively taking in information, it's mostly actively working on the thing that you're learning and also then transferring that into your life. So the last bit will be a bit of personal exchange, questions and answers, doubts, concerns. There will be loads of space in the end of this masterclass. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And well, some of you know me, but just for those who don't, who am I? Who is Robin giving this presentation? This is me as a stick figure, and I quickly want to show you a bit of my background because it also like really influences the way I look at learning and AI and these kind of things. Because ultimately, I think if I gave one label to myself, I would call myself a lifelong learner. That has been with me from the start. I'm going to show you how in a second, but lifelong learning has been my main kind of like direction. And I actually even studied a master's in adult learning. Lifelong learning. It was actually called lifelong learning. It was like such a great title. I got to study that because I loved learning. And that's what I did for some time of my life, studying, learning in all kinds of settings, and then quickly going into the more like adult education, corporate coaching kind of world, because that's where learning is really innovative, I think. And as I was doing that, I was drawing a lot because drawing helped me remember things. And somehow it happened that I ended up as a graphic facilitator in one of my first professional like roles. So as a graphic facilitator, I would have been drawing on big conferences, harvesting the dialogues, the conversations, all these kind of things. And that was a pretty successful career, I would say, and also a great path of making something passionate like drawing into a business skill. And I recorded like great speakers. I got to learn a lot. I went to different conferences. So I had a great time there. But after a while, I realized only having well-paid gigs and cool speakers doesn't really do it for me. Because ultimately, what I'm all about, and that's influencing my work a lot, is I think I have a deep passion and desire for expressing my essence, but also helping other people expressing their essence and helping us as humanity to express our essence. There's something about expressing essence that I keep coming back to, and that's why I started drawing because it really makes essence visible. And that's why I started building my own business even more, because then I actually took all these visual skills and I developed a visual business coaching kind of like approach. So these days I call myself visual business coach, and I help entrepreneurs, creators, coaches to really visualize their strategy, get clear in what they want, where they want to go, and teaching loads of content on the side. That's why I'm doing this masterclass. This is part of me teaching passions of like, how can we be creators that really express their essence? And lastly, lately I became a creative AI enthusiast because AI helped me immensely build my own business. As I was getting started, with this new venture, I had to learn so many skills. I had to learn marketing, client acquisition, all these things I didn't know how to do. And then I realized, wow, instead of reading books or paying expensive coaches, I can now talk to AI. And this is not the full picture, but it's a big piece of how I build a business that I'm now running, and also how I coach, because oftentimes my coaches are asking me things like, Alexandra is in my program and you guys are asking me things, and then often I respond by giving you a prompt, because that's that's for me like teaching people how to fish. It's not like giving them a fish and feed them once, but give them the skills so they can fish for themselves and solve their own problems. So I think if you use AI correctly, that helps a lot. So yeah, that's a bit of me and my bigger life journey and my background. Mm, but let's go into the problem. We're all here because we have problems. Otherwise, we wouldn't be learning things. And I guess we could summarize it as we face complex crises. We've all heard that before. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world, and let's just call these complex challenges. Like we have them societal, politically, sustainability, all these things are happening. And as I said, I think this calls for a new way of responsibility. And some of you maybe know that phrase, that responsibility is the ability to respond. So, what I think we need is people like us stepping up, getting the right tools, and creating solutions, aka responding to what's happening in the world. So, that's what's needed. And it's kind of like we need to show up with our gift, right? Like that's, you feel that, we all feel that there's something within us, an essence that wants to be shared. So we want to share that. But for all of these things, we need new skills. First of all, like society is changing rapidly, so you got to learn new skills, new tech, all of these things on a daily basis, anyways. But especially if you decide to go that direction and to bring your gift into the world and to make it into a business, there's a whole rabbit hole of things you can learn. That's my perspective. And I think learning business is key in that. Like learning business is actually the ultimate life hack. I learned so many things, many valuable skills, but I realized once I really wrapped my head around business skills, everything got way easier because now I'm getting paid for what I love. That already reduces all of the time I have to spend. I don't have to work and do the things I love later. I can just do them together, like in this masterclass. Like this is literally my greatest love and passion and hobby is to share these things. Yeah. And lastly, I think the AI wave is here and we better learn how to surf it. So this technology will not go away like any of the other technologies that came into civilization. And I think there's a way to consciously and creatively use these tools. So yeah, all of that list is basically the foundation of why we're here and, you know, the argument, so to say. So yeah, and what it's kind of like I'm trying to say, we need learning. And I quickly want to speak a bit more about my learning journey here because I shared it already before, but I really want to show you how that changed my life. So my learning journey was basically I was stuck in victim mentality for quite a long time in my life. I had loads of problems and I thought, okay, I'm just not smart enough. I'm just not that guy, whatever. I'm not extroverted, confident. That's how life is. Too bad. I'm not good at languages. I'm not good at music. Let's see what I can make with this life. But luckily, I kind of got into contact with like all these personal development perspectives in my youth. And then I kind of developed a learning mindset. And I realized actually I can learn pretty much anything. Like I might have not been given these abilities, but I quite quickly realized wow, everything is just a skill I can learn. And I did all crazy things. I learned to juggle, played music, learned kind of loads of languages. And I was like really addicted into learning for quite some time, learning random skills. Um, but then eventually I realized, okay, learning to juggle is kind of nice, makes me happy. But there's like some skills that really make an impact in my life. So I started really focusing on first personal development things like improving my communication, improving my relation, improving my embodiment kind of like abilities. And eventually I realized, and that's what I shared before, learning business skill gets that to a whole different level. Like I can literally, especially nowadays, I call it the golden age of creation because I mean, it's a dark age in many terms, but it's also a golden age of like, you can literally create any business out of any passion that you're having. Like I'm working with creators that like, they do crazy stuff. They really turned their love into their business and they're making good money. And like all you gotta learn basically is how to build an audience, how to create content that speaks to people and how to then offer value to these people. And that's pretty complex when you're standing there, but when you take this like ability of skill building to it, it really changed a lot for me because nowadays I do see many of the challenges I face just as learning opportunities. And then it might take a few months to build these skills, but there's really a methodology that I've been inspired to. So yeah, solution to our problem is learning how to learn. I think this is the ultimate skill or meta skill, so to say, if you really know how to learn effectively. And I want to show you how. So this is the last kind of concept, and then we're going to jump into the AI learning as well. So we have complex problems. I talked about this before. Mm, And the image I want to give you in facing this complexity is this little guy who's like, he's getting his little drill out. It's not a gun, it's a drill. And he's basically choosing one of these problems. So that could be a societal problem, but also like in your life, like you face all these problems. Focus is essential. Like focusing on one thing and then drilling into this one thing by making this challenge into a skill that you can learn. And that's what I call skill drilling analysis. So the process of like really zooming into one problem and making it into a skill. This perspective is heavily influenced by Tim Ferriss. You probably know him. He has a lot of content on learning, and he's super inspiring. Maybe in the email I can share some resources. Like when he talks about how he just like drills into skills, I'm like amazed, and that opened my perspective. So first, analyze the skill and like the problem and the skill that you want to build. And then you really take that problem, you take the one thing that you've identified, and you really break it down into smaller and smaller parts. You basically deconstruct that thing into like little sub skills that you can actually learn on a daily basis. And I'm going to give some examples in a second how that looks. Thing is, we're of course pretty busy in our lives, right? Like you all have many things to do. So one way to do this is like take 1 hour of your day and learn that skill. You can basically do that. But we're creators and we're trying to look like for business as the ultimate life hack. So that's why I think building learning projects, like really, oop, sorry, whole thing again, skill drilling, taking one skill, turning that challenge into a skill, making a skill drilling analysis, influenced by Tim Ferriss, deconstructing this whole thing, and then building a learning project. And that is pretty much influenced by Dan Ko, another creator I follow. Really recommend you, who's saying you can like kind of like mindlessly learn a skill, or you make a project out of it, like a business project. And then it gets real and it gets also more effective because you really build a project that maybe generates revenue, which is a great feedback of like, okay, this thing is working. And all of this we're going to practice with our prompt. Let me give you a few examples and then we go to the AI. So challenges that I've faced and that you might be facing in your career as a creator is, so I have these challenges and I turn them into skills. If you face the problem of no clients, you can say like, okay, I have no clients, or you can turn it into a skill. And for me, the essential skill I learned to overcome that was like positioning and marketing as a skill. And you can basically see how you could build a project out of that that can enable you to build that skill. If you're bad at social media, if you're not happy with your social media strategy, I faced and I'm still facing that today. But instead of just like complaining about the algorithms, I just looked at content creation. It's like, okay, of course, I'm just getting started. There's a whole library in the internet and an AI about how to write good content. Maybe I can just learn that skill. And lastly, if you have no time, maybe learn some self-management. That's definitely something I did, and ever since my time management is way more effectively. And to give maybe a bit more of a soft skill, if you overwhelm, maybe learn the skill of nervous system regulation. That's a bit more abstract, but it's literally a skill that I've learned in my first therapy of like tracking my nervous system, learning different relaxation techniques, because it's like you've probably been working with that, right? It's also just like certain buttons that you push and then you regulate yourself and you might be less overwhelmed. So that's my perspective on skill building. I'm also very happy to have a conversation later if you see it the same way or if you have any like critiques. I have more to say to that in a second, but let's finally talk about AI for learning. And we're going to make that practically because I've been speaking for quite a while. But the thing we're going to be doing is really we're going to be building an AI learning assistant, kind of like a chat that just helps you to build that skill that you want to learn for a certain amount of time. And I've been really working on that prompt for quite a while, and it would basically help you to deconstruct your challenge, build learning projects, set monthly focuses. That's really where the focus comes in, right? Like you try to break it down more and more and more. And then you can do fun things like AI learning walks. That's something I shared in my recent newsletter, right? You can basically take this assistant, you have it on your phone, and most of the breakthroughs I'm having lately is just by walking, having a walk, which I'm doing lately in my lunch break. And then whenever a question pops up, I'm having a conversation with this learning assistant that's really like teaching me on the go. And I think with this like consistent reflection, some of the skills really land deeper in my system. And many more things. Of course, this is unlimited and you can like keep developing your own learning assistant. So, gonna start with that in a second, but I wanna talk to the speak to the resistance because it's been mentioned before, AI is a problematic thing. Maybe even this perspective on learning is a problematic thing. So I want to just mention that I see some of these problems. And what I'm seeing and where this practice is also limited is, first of all, learning skills isn't everything. Like, this is a helpful perspective to get you out of the victim kind of mentality, but there's also other stuff that's maybe not considered a skill, and that's where I think inner work really matters. So, in some points, it's not the right thing to learn more to read another book, but it's really maybe trauma related or any like barrier that you're facing. And in that moment, we really need human contact. We need therapy, coaching, conversations with friends to work through that. And learning can only get us so far. So that's one thing. And another problem is also the problem of mindless learning. Like me as a learning junkie, I also see how you can get stuck and just keep on consuming, keep reading book after book and not really integrating. And my solution for this is to build learning projects, right? To make it highly applicable, not just like passive consuming, watching YouTube videos, but really getting out there, building a project, getting feedback, these kind of things. And lastly, of course, AI is highly problematic. I like we could talk hours just about all the dangers and risks of AI for the human psyche, for the collective, whatever. I see these problems. And for now, I think the only answer I found is to learn creative AI prompting, like to at least understand these tools, see, like to not be like dominated by artificial intelligence, but to ramp up your human intelligence to deal with these things, and then maybe also collectively learning how we can influence these models, make them more ethically, and also very happy to have a conversation in the Q&A section about that stuff. But yeah, let's get to creative AI prompting. I guess all of you have seen my craft concept, so I'm just going to mention it. Prompting is a skill as well, a skill that you can learn. And I try to break down that skill into an acronym so you can remember it easily, and I call it the craft concept. Actually, this whole acronym was co-invented with AI. Like I had a whole conversation, and that's where it really helped me to deliver this. And the craft concept really gives like the most important things that every prompt needs, and also like a guiding structure. And in the prompt that I'm going to show you, we have these steps. So every letter stands for a step. C for context. So you always start with you, I am, who are you, what do you want? Then R for role, you are, like who or what is the AI? What is the role of it? What's its assignment? Of course, that's the most important thing, like what you want it to do. And then you can like feed it a bit more with format, like what kind of style would you like? And then you can like tweak and iterate. So that's a craft concept. I've delivered like that to really give a template because prompts can be very long and then you have these headings and you can orient. And whenever you write a prompt, you can basically use that template and fill in the gaps. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do now. So I'm gonna pause the recording in a second so we can have a chat here. If you're watching online, I invite you to just like follow the steps and us together we will see which steps we're gonna do how long. So first step is of course, and that's what I'd like you to do with journaling, like actually handwritten, because as I said, it's good to also activate our human intelligence. So actually taking a pen and a paper and like first doing this little analysis of like what's actually my problem and the skill can be quite helpful. I've also developed a prompt for that, but this time we gonna focus more on the like developing. So we're assuming that you're kind of clear on your problem and skill. So analyze that first. Give yourself like 5 minutes or something just to write that down. And then I'm gonna start a recording again, and I'm gonna give you the craft concept prompt that is basically a prompt that you can just take and fill in some blanks, and then you can let it run through and you can see what the results are. And that's just a first little practice for this masterclass. And then we're gonna exchange, you're gonna harvest your learnings. But for now, I'm gonna pause for a second and see if there are any questions before we get started. So the first thing is really just a journaling exercise. You can just write or you can draw. And I'd really invite you to just like first like really look at the problems, the challenges. Let's call it challenges that you're facing in your ideally business. Um, so first have a brainstorm around that. Like, is it clients? You can basically just like write a whole list of things. And then you can start thinking, and then the prompt will help you to analyze that even more. But you can start developing like, okay, what potential skill could help you? Like once you've like identified, like say you've identified clients, what is the skill that you can learn to work with this challenge? Because we kind of like you kind of need some clarity about both columns. So maybe here it's, like positioning or whatever. And you can of course like take also like private challenges if it works best with business skills. So I'd invite you to do that. But whatever challenge you're facing, like give yourself some time to write, doodle, draw for the next 5 minutes to get just clarity on what's the challenge and what's the kind of skill. And then afterwards, we can have a look. If you're unclear, we can also have a chat here since we're such a small group. Okay, so now assuming that you have a clear idea on the challenge and the skill, we're going to jump over to AI finally. And I have a prompt, a craft prompt that I crafted for you. And you're going to find it in this little link. I'm going to share that in a second. And on YouTube, you find it in the link description below. And basically, how this works is you fill in these brackets. Some of you have seen these things. You just like, okay, I am working in the field of, and then you say, I'm a coach, creator, whatever. And then you're kind of describing the challenge, and it doesn't like as precisely as possible, but can be vague. Describing the challenge, then and describing what you want to achieve, like what's actually a goal behind that, and then what's the skill that you would like to learn. All of these things, they will be more like clarified in when you give that to the AI, but like the more you feed it, of course, the better the answers is. So this is the first thing in context you're going to do a lot. Then in the role, you can also like say, okay, if you want to have it like have it to know specific skills or like resources, you can fill that in here, and the rest is kind of like giving with like prompts that I've like tried and iterated for you. And then if you want, you can also like say, okay, how much time do you actually have? Like, how long would you like to learn the skill? Like, is this something you want to try out for that? Because it's going to give you a curriculum that you can kind of like practice for the next weeks, which is pretty cool. And you can see, do you want to have it for the next 4 weeks? Do you want to have it longer? And how much like hours do you also have a week? Like, is it 1 hour? Then it will give you a very basic version. If you have a lot of time in your hand, you can write that here. And the rest is pretty much structured for you. So I'm going to share this link with you, and then you can go up here and you make a copy for yourself. By making a copy, you copy that, and then you can like start writing into this thing directly here in Google Drives. But of course, you can also like copy all of this and copy it over to whatever thing you're using. But yeah, I'm gonna put that into the chat. So yeah, link is in the chat, and we're gonna take 6 or 7 more minutes just to work on that prompt. I'm gonna pause the recording again and yeah, just copy the prompt, try it out, and then we're gonna like whenever you're ready, you let it run through, you have a look, and then afterwards we're gonna have exchange here in the masterclass to see how that worked for us and how we liked our little first learning assistant. Yeah. Okay, so we've done all that. We've got clear on our problem and skill. We worked with the craft concept and we harvested a bit of our learnings. Highly invite you to just like take that home, keep experimenting, like message me also, like if you have any questions or like if you want to show me what you've been working on, that'll be cool to see. So yeah, masterclass is over. Thanks for coming. If you like that and if you want to have more of this kind of stuff, I just want to show you what's next potentially in my work. So first of all, by joining this masterclass, you all became part of my newsletter, aka Viewsletter. So just like yeah, invite you to keep following my content. I will share like keep sharing many tools that I'm discovering. Actually, next month, I think I want to do something around money mindset because that's something that's really important for many of my clients and myself. I also do coaching. I do visual strategy coaching one-on-one. So whenever you need clarity in like whatever you now learned and you want to take it a bit further, or you realize only taking to my AI is also not enough, you need human contact, then I'm happy to assist you. You can reach out and we can see how that works. And I have loads of courses and programs coming up. And actually, there is a new thing that I've been working on, and I want to share that with you here because I also need some assistance in that. Because the one thing I really learned in my way is learning needs consistency. Like you need to constant, like having a plan is great, but you need constant work on this thing, daily practice. And for that, it's good to not be alone. And I've taken all of the learnings of my current course and other things I did, and I created something, or I am creating something that I call the consistent creators, because I think consistency is everything, especially if you're creating, and I like rainbow colors. That's why I brought all of this together, and I'm developing a program, and that's going to be a 1 year kind of like membership that combines coaching, content, and community. So it's really like an ongoing journey, an ongoing container that I'm about to start, where we do things like that, but where we also do coaching, where we do peer-to-peer support, just like having a container where you can be working together to get consistent clients, cash flow, and creation, just like to get this thing you're doing consistently on the ground. And right now, I'm really just designing that. This is in the early stages. So I want to do something that I call free visual coaching interviews, which is where I want to talk to people who that could be interesting for, and I just want to like hear what would support you. Like imagine you joined a 1 year container and it would have like all the things to empower you to create consistent cash flow and clients and all of that. What would you need? So this is really a conversation. It's also good for you because you will get a visual coaching and you will get like information on what you might be needing, but it's also for me so I can actually see what people like you need. So this is the consistent creators. More of that will be coming up in the next newsletter. I'll be happy to talk to you maybe, yeah, it's just going to be like 30, 40 minutes for these visual coaching interviews. Usually they're really fun. And yeah, this thing is going to happen. I think I'm going to make a little pre-launch this September, and then next January this thing will start for good. But who sees? In these days, with AI waves hitting us and everything else is going crazy. I don't even know if I should talk about next year. Thanks for joining me. I will stop the recording now and then